Bienvenido todos y welcome to Precisely Nowhere. I've been having fun with these intros where I speak Spanglish because I've been Duolingoing, just making that a word. Been on Duolingo for 34 days, the day that I'm recording this episode. And I am just trying to keep up with my Spanish because it is so easy to speak English because that's my first language, even though I grew up hearing Spanish and speaking it when I was a kid and learned it in school. I've spent a lot of my energy towards trying to maintain my fluency, and I'm determined to stay fluent so that I can continue to go to Mexico and travel through other places of the world, and even in my home state, speak the language and connect with more people. That is a small tangent because that's where my head was at. And I hope you all have been well. It is the end of May. We are so close to summer, but I am staying present and enjoying spring. We've been doing some spring cleaning. I went through my clothes and had a bag of clothes that I gave away, and I feel lighter. I have also been going through papers. I've just accumulated so many papers over the years, like things like directions to pieces of furniture. I try to keep those things, but I'm in the progress of reorganizing and saying goodbye to some things, especially if I have digital copies of them. It is so much easier said than done. And I'm acknowledging this on the pod because I mentioned that I would share an update on how things are going. And not gonna lie, it's been challenging and taken a good amount of discipline for me to follow up on this because the last thing I want to be doing is going through old papers. But I'm gonna feel so much lighter by the end of spring. So we're not there yet. This is a update since our last update in April. And if you are on this journey with me, I hope that it's going well. And I would love for you to DM me, share what you cleaned this spring and how you feel. In my last episode, I talked about letting go of the life I thought I'd have and stepping into one that I'm becoming and building. And I've been sitting with that a lot because it's one thing to say you're building a different life. What does that actually look like day to day? What does it feel like to live it? I used to focus a lot on what my life looked like from the outside, and now I'm way more focused on what it feels like to exist in it. Does it feel calm? Does it feel inspiring? Does it feel like somewhere I want to be? Asking myself these questions has been eye opening and has helped me create a life that I can feel because it's so important on how we feel every day and staying in tune with our authentic selves. And I've been putting a lot of energy into my space lately, like building out gallery walls in our home studio, finally hanging pieces I've had sitting around for months. And what's funny is I used to get decision fatigue over these things. I wanted it to look perfect. And this time I just let it be creative. I stopped asking, "Does this look right?" and started asking, "Does this feel like me? Does this bring me joy?" I've been embracing the fact that I'm an art collector. I love collecting art while traveling, and most of my art is from my travels throughout Europe, Mexico, and in the States. Most are by local artists or vintage photos. That's where my heart is to support the local artist, the small business owner. I love me some Van Goghs as well, and Andy Warhol, and Frida Kahlo, and so many other artists, but I have a special place in my heart for local art. And I paired these with frames, and all of this came together imperfectly. What I've learned: perfection kept me stuck, expression moved me forward. So I'm embracing creativity as expression, not performance, and it's liberating. And I'm romanticizing the in between. I've also been leaning into small things like arranging dried flowers, switching out decor with seasons. And I know that might sound small, but it's actually been grounding because even if everything in my life isn't figured out right now, it definitely isn't, my space can still feel intentional. I work from home, so I spend a lot of time in my space. I may not have everything figured out, but I can make my life feel like somewhere I belong. And I want to still sit with those words because very few of us have it all figured out. We can make our lives feel like somewhere we belong. And that does take intention. And it helps when we romanticize the in between, the small moments. I am here for romanticizing little moments, and this is something that we will be chatting more about in 2026. A lot of what I'm building right now is internal, like my relationship with myself. I restarted my therapy journey fall 2024 and went every 2 weeks up until the new year. When I scaled back to once a month, at first I felt this sense of hesitation, wondering if I could hold myself accountable and put to practice the tools that I've learned and habits I've formed on my own, and decided to take the leap of faith on myself. And so far, I've been holding myself accountable. We are a few months into the new year, and I've been keeping up with the good habits that I've formed. It feels good to acknowledge the growth, and it also feels vulnerable and a different kind of confidence to know that I can hold myself accountable and own my vulnerability. What I realize as I continue to grow is that it's challenging for me to acknowledge my own growth at times and honor my boundaries. At the same time, it feels good when I stop and smell the roses, celebrate the little wins, the baby steps, and respect my boundaries. I realize therapy isn't for everyone, so you can also start with self talk and journaling. Our brains hear us, and when we give ourselves validation and support, it helps normalize this behavior. It takes tiny and consistent steps to make a habit. Find what works for you. Sometimes I journal. By translating abstract emotions into written language, journaling reduces cognitive load, lowers stress, and rewires the brain for better emotional intelligence and resilience. It also puts those thoughts in our frontal cortex. Something that's been reinforcing a lot of growth for me is what I've been watching lately. The show Couples Therapy, you can find it on Hulu or HBO Max. And it's not even in a dramatic way, it's just very real. You're watching people try to communicate, try to understand each other, and realizing how many of us were never actually taught how to do that. A lot of us aren't lacking love, we're lacking tools. And that's part of why my boyfriend and I decided to start going to couples therapy, not because things were falling apart, but because we're building something long term and we want to do it well. We are learning to love better, and watching the show reminds me how important communication is and makes me grateful that my boyfriend and I are both invested in our own personal growth and the growth of our relationship. We both go to individual therapy as well. So your girl is working on herself a lot right now and working on my relationship. One of the things I have learned in the last 4 years of being with my boyfriend is that relationships take hard work and healthy communication from both people involved. So my boyfriend and I started couples therapy last summer after being together for 3 years. There's been a lot of change in our life since we started dating and committed to each other, from moving across the country, my boyfriend going back to school, changes in my work life, moving back to being near my family. Oh, and starting this podcast. So, those are just a few of the things that have changed in our lives since we first started dating. I don't think it's a red flag to go to couples therapy if you're in a long term relationship. I wouldn't advise it if you've been dating someone for a month, then that feels like a red flag. But if you're building a life with someone or have committed to them, I think it's a good idea to consider couples therapy or another form of therapy that fits your vibe. Again, we are not all born and raised with the tools that we need to have a healthy, happy relationship. And that is where couples therapy comes into the picture and can help us grow and learn more about each other. Personally, we wanted to take the steps to do the work now so that we could build a stronger foundation and grow our love in healthy ways. Let's normalize being proactive, getting support and the tools to better manage how we navigate life transitions together, not as two separate people, but as two people in one relationship. There's only so much we learned from our parents and surroundings. Sometimes we are out of our depths, and I think couples therapy is a great tool to help strengthen communication and create a safe space for both people to feel heard. It's not for everyone, but I do think it can be extremely beneficial to a relationship, and I'm speaking from experience. Sometimes by the time people go to couples therapy, their relationship is on the brink of no longer existing. That's avoidable if you can take initiative to find solutions and compromise. Many of us don't have all the tools to know how to navigate some of the situations we encounter in our day to day lives. And that's where I think therapy is valuable. There are people that have dedicated their lives to studying psychology and sociology and have wisdom to offer that can help us thrive and live our best lives. So I'm here for reaping the benefit of those gifts. And I will get off my soapbox now. I think this show could benefit anyone, regardless of their relationship status. And there are many seasons. I've only watched 2 seasons so far, but it's my jam. I also take it in doses because sometimes these episodes are intense. Love isn't just something you feel, it's something you practice. This may sound cheesy, but it's real. And it's something for us to keep in mind as we navigate through this journey of life. So, the life I'm building right now, it's slower, it's softer, it's not as easy to explain, but it feels more like mine. And I think that's what I was missing before. Not a better plan, just a more honest one that's aligned to my ideal life and the ideal version of me that is also growing and evolving as I grow and navigate life. So if your life doesn't look like how you thought it would be by now, maybe that's not a sign that you're off track. Maybe it's a sign that you're building something that actually fits you. And that takes time and intention and a lot of unlearning. But I think it's worth it. Thank y'all for listening. Remember that growth is a journey, not a destination. This means that personal development is an ongoing, continuous process rather than a final fixed endpoint. We are precisely nowhere, pun intended, and grateful for you if you've stuck around this long in the episode. I hope these last two episodes help you as you navigate the rest of 2026 and the years to come. I think we can probably all relate on the idea that we've all at some point have had a life that we thought we'd have versus the one that we're actually in. And we've also experienced what it looks like to build a life that actually feels like ours. And we don't all have the tools, but there are so many tools out there if we look for them and we stay open. Stay safe. Talk soon.
Music done by Marco. You can find him at midnight, MIDNITE_mind80 on Instagram.